In case of OSPF, we do have some types of routers as well. So let's write the types of router. So with OSPF, you will see that usually we are going to have some types of router like first type of router you are going to find is IR, which we call it as internal router. So when we say what is exactly this internal router is, so this internal router is as such nothing, but this router have its interfaces within the same area. So we can say here, it has the its interfaces within the same area. So this is the thing with internal router. Then second we have is your PR, which we call it as backbone router. And when it comes to the backbone router, this backbone router in itself only, like this backbone router is something like where area 0 is configured, because we know that area 0 is the transit area, or we can say the main and like we can say the main important part of your OSPF network. And depending upon the scenario, this BR router itself can act as an internal router. It can also act as an area border router, and also it can act as an ASBR router. As itself, it's a backbone router. So that's the thing with the backbone router. Then the third we have is ABR, and this ABR we call it as area border router. Now, when it comes to defining this area border router is nothing but it is the router which joins two areas together or joins multiple areas together. And then lastly, we have one more type of router in OSPF, which is ASBR, which stands for Autonomous System Border Router. So now when it comes to this ASBR router is something like, whenever we are defining the configurations, so this router one interface can connect to the OSPF scenario, like the OSPF topology, and other interfaces like, connected to a non-OSPF network, which means the data or whatever the traffic, it may be coming from ISP side or it may be coming from some of your, we can take one example to define this. Let's say I'm gonna take few routers here. I got router 1, router 2, router 3, router 4, router 5, and this router 6 and 7 as well. And all these 7 routers are connected like this with each other, and they are forming some relationship of neighborship relation between each other, and some OSPF is configured here on all the routers. But in my route scenario, this is my area 10 and this is my area 0. So area 0 up to this part. These interfaces belongs to area 0, whereas the interfaces I'm marking with the red color, these interfaces belongs to your area 10 here. Now in this scenario, let's assume that we also got some ISP router here. Let's say this is your ISP head office, and then this ISP is further connected to World Wide Web. And seventh router, the edge router, you can say, of the organization is connected to your ISP here. Now in this scenario, you can see the router 1 and the router 2. They both are forming the neighborship between one single area, which is area 10. So that means we can say that router 1 is IR, router 2 is acting as IR, router 3 is also acting as internal router, whereas this router 4 is also acting as IR. 5 is also acting as internal router. This is also IR. This is also IR, which means like all the interfaces are within the same area. But apart from that, the second router we have seen is the backbone router. So in our scenario, this router 5 is also acting as backbone router. 7 is also acting as BR. and this is also acting as BR. And when we will define R4, so let's say we got router 4, and we will separately define that what are the roles which are given to this router. So this is acting as BR as well, this router number 4, because area 0 is configured with R4 also. Then we have the last, which is ASBR. So here this router 7 is acting as your ASBR router. Now when we say ASBR, because you can see one connection is connected to the OSPF network, but on the other side, the next is out of the OSPF network. So it's connected to a non-OSPF network where like you can see some redistributed routes are coming up in here where we are going to see some OSPF E1 and E2 types of routes from the router number 7 if you are using some redistribution or some other network traffic is coming inside your autonomous system. So that is the thing. But here the router 4 as itself can act as a PR backbone router. Then after we have it is acting as a IR. It is also acting as ABR because it is also joining two areas together. You can see that it is forming relation with area 10 and in between the area 0 as well. So that is the scenario with the types of OSPF routers here.